LinkedIn presents.
This is the Forbes Books Podcast, conversations with folks who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and they've been playing baseball for over 175 years, so it's hard to imagine being an entrepreneur in our national pastime, especially since the value of Major League Baseball teams range from $1 billion all the way to the New York Yankees at $7 billion. But in Savannah, Georgia, a former collegiate summer league team has turned into the greatest show in baseball, known as Banana Ball. It's the brainchild of today's guest, Jesse Cole, a former ball player turned modern-day P.T. Barnum. The Savannah Bananas have sold out every game since their first season and have a wait list for tickets in the hundreds of thousands. And he writes about his wild journey in the new book, Banana Ball, the unbelievably true story of the Savannah Bananas. Jesse, welcome to the podcast.
Excited to be with you.
I am super excited as well, Jesse, because I moved down to Charleston, South Carolina 3 years ago, before the pandemic, before it was cool. So don't think I'm one of these interlopers who came down here before it was cool. But that's when I discovered the Savannah Bananas, because everyone was telling me about you guys. And I'm like one of those hundreds of thousands of people on the wait list trying to get tickets to go see the Savannah Bananas. So I've got my fingers crossed that I'll eventually work my way up that list. But one of the things I really wanted to talk about was sort of you and how you came to become sort of this ringleader, this modern day P.T. Barnum. And this is going to be, I'm going to do a little psychoanalysis of you, if you don't mind, Jesse.
Well, let's go.
My brother has a history, he's happily married now, but of dating women that were only child. And they never understood the dynamic between the two of us. With siblings, you've got to share from the beginning of your life. You've got to learn how to fight. You've got to learn how to negotiate. And I feel like people that are only child, they're just a little different because they don't have that. And I'm asking you this is because you're a little different, obviously, but you were also an only child. What do you think of my early psychoanalysis here of someone who's an only child and how they develop in this world?
I think you have a little bit right there. I mean, yeah, it's certainly interesting. I was an only child. My dad was an only child. My dad's dad was an only child. My dad's dad's dad was an only child. And Emily, we had a son, and now we're foster parents, so we only had a son child. So, yeah, I think, for everyone it's different. But yes, as Emily, my wife, who's got three brothers, she learned a lot more of working together and doing things and collaborating and all that. And for me, I was just a kid trying to make my dad proud and try to do something and really achieve something and make something and build something and dream big. And as my dad used to say when I was a kid, swing hard in case you hit it. And that was the mindset. So, I think you see a lot of that with sometimes only children that really try to build something in their help, because a lot of times they're measured as the only offspring. What are you doing? What's the success? What are you building? How are you keeping this name strong? And I never thought too much about that, but I think you might be onto something.
Cool. Well, thank you for humoring me there. It's funny because as I was reading that in your book, I always feel like people that are only children have just a little bit something different about them. And so I wondered if that was part of like your DNA, because you have this creativity spark, this sort of like, whereas with siblings, you're building things with someone, but you've got to build everything in your own head. And so that sort of ties into the genesis of the Savannah Bananas, because I'm a New York Mets fan. And indirectly, the New York Mets are the reason you have the Savannah Bananas. Can you take me back to how that happened and the connection between my favorite team, the Mets, and how you ended up with the Bananas?
And very indirectly, let's say that. Yeah. Well, let's go back even further. So when I was pitching at Wofford College, a small Division I school in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the first professional team that I heard from was the New York Mets.
Oh.
So I started getting actually Christmas cards every year from the New York Mets of Shea Stadium.
Wow.
With covered in snow, and it was beautiful. And it was this letter from their head scout, and I was like, this is amazing. That was the first team I heard from. And then, yes, I started building this team in Gastonia, North Carolina, doing things like grandma beauty pageants and flatulence fun nights and pregnant nights and salute to underwear nights. We tried it all. P.T. Barnum inspired. Started selling out games, met my wife, and she became our director of fun, proposed in front of a sold-out crowd. Thank goodness, in the yellow tuxedo. Thank goodness she said yes. And then she surprised me with a trip to Savannah, Georgia. And at that point, we went to Savannah, and we found out there was a minor league team in a majestic old stadium. And we went and saw it. And it was the New York Mets affiliate, the Savannah Sand Gnats. And Fortunately for us, unfortunately for them, there were only 200 fans of the game. They asked the city for a new $40 million stadium. The city said, we're not going to build that. So they left, and we convinced the city to let us come to Savannah, this beautiful old ballpark. And we showed up, and unfortunately, that former team cut the phone lines, cut the internet lines. They took everything out of the stadium and abandoned the ballpark. It was deserted, and we took over back in October of 2015 with pretty much nothing.
Wow, what a great story. Why do you think that banana ball works in Savannah, but a minor league team in a traditional minor league system with players that are funneled through Major League Baseball? Obviously the fun difference. I'll take that out of it. But why do you think you were able to pop there, whereas a team that was being filled with potential future Major League Baseball players couldn't attract people to a city like Savannah? I'm in Charleston, so I always I've never been to Savannah. People always say basically Charleston and Savannah, they're very similar. They have a lot of the same DNA. So why do you think you guys popped there?
Well, remember, we failed at first. When we first came in, we only sold a handful of tickets. And by January of 2016, I got a phone call that we overdrafted our account and we're about to miss payroll. And at that point, we had no money left. Emily and I, we already gone through 7 figures in debt to buy the team, start the team up. And it was our first year of marriage. And I remember Emily coming back from my best friend's wedding. She said, Jesse, we have to sell our house. So we sold our house, emptied out our savings account, and literally got an airbed and was sleeping in a dump and grocery shopping with just $30 a week. That's all we had. And it failed because no one had seen our show. We were just talking. We were marketing like everyone else, selling like everyone else. We were like everyone else. It wasn't until they came to that first game and they saw us playing and we became the Bananas. And we were playing in green uniforms because we weren't quite ripe, which is actually true, the opening night. And we had a Banana Baby and the Banana Band, and we played Can't Stop the Peeling, and we had Banana in the Pants promotions and the Banana Nanas and everyone. And they watched and said, I've never seen anything like this before. We were playing a traditional baseball game, but we were dedicated to making it fun every step of the way. And since that game, we were fortunate to sell out every single game. And, now the wait list over 600,000 for tickets. And we developed this new game, Banana Ball, which we're playing all over the country. And that was an iteration because we saw fans leaving games early, even when they were sold out. We said, how do we make it even more fun? And so now we went all in, developed a brand new game, Banana Ball, with crazy rules. And that's really what's, where the Bananas are today.
Wow. It's amazing. And thinking back real fast, like you were sleeping on an airbed and now you've got books with major publishers. You're interviewed by like every major media outlet. Does it seem like you're living in an alternate universe?
My wife laughs all the time. I only wear the yellow tuxedo, when I'm at the stadium. But so I go incognito when I fly a lot. I'm doing lots of speeches, which is crazy. And, there's people stopping left and right to take pictures and autographs. And it's really weird because we're just out having fun. We feel like we're kids running a baseball team. And it's not just myself, it's our staff. Literally people, our ticket takers are signing autographs and taking pictures.
Wow.
It makes no sense. But to see that today, we have 10 million social media followers, 5 million more than any Major League Baseball team on TikTok. And to see the following and what's happened, all we were doing was just having fun and filming it and showing it off to the world. And luckily, a lot of people found a lot of joy in it.
Funny enough, my brother is a highfalutin SVP at Major League Advanced Media, and he would sure like to have some of those followers that you were able to. and one of the big things you popped on was TikTok. When did you realize that TikTok was going to be such a big driver when it comes to your social media footprint?
Well, I think for us, it was in 2020. A lot of things happened in 2020 for good for us. We reevaluated what we were doing. We said, what are the biggest challenges? How can we not be just playing during a season? How do we stay relevant 24/7, 365? And so we started thinking about that. And one of the things is we started TikTok. And I remember we had an intern who came with us and she asked, why aren't we on TikTok? And our marketing director said, I don't know, we should. You want to start it? And so literally a 20-year-old intern started it. And after a few days, I was watching and nothing was happening. And I challenged her. I said, Savannah, ironically, her name's Savannah, one N. And I said, Savannah, post every single day because we'll learn faster. And it has to be making baseball fun. And if you're showing clips where we make baseball fun and we do things that the teams, it's fun, and you post every day, we're on to something. And so then a few weeks, we got to 10,000 followers. We had a video pop. Then it went to 100,000, and all of a sudden we were passing major league teams, and we kept learning. And some videos didn't work, a lot didn't work, but the ones that worked, we would just keep pushing the gas, and start having creative meetings on them. What can we do in the field? And now, yeah, it's a big part of our strategy. And, TikTok, we're about to hit 6 million followers. And it's just been based on a lot of iterations, plussing, and experimenting, which is a big ethos of our brand. It's ideas, ideas, ideas. We work our idea muscle more than anyone else. Every day, 10 ideas a day, idea sessions. We spend so much time on ideas, and that's what creates this content that really makes an impact.
And when you're coming up with so many ideas and you're constantly ideating, you're going to fail. And so it seems like you don't seem like you are not afraid of failure. It seems like it.
Well, I mean, the living pinata. That was a failure. Messy Baby, the halftime shows. Dig to China Night. We've had numerous failures. I forget about them all because I'm not interested in what failed. I'm interested in what worked and how do we get better from there. So it's like if we do 10 to 15 a night, 9 aren't going to go great, but there's going to be 2 or 3 that's gold. And so we keep plussing. So our goal every night, I have a script. We do 10 to 15 things every night we've never done in front of a live crowd, every single night. So when people call us the Globetrotters, I actually take a little bit of offense to it because every night you never know if the Bananas are going to win. They may lose. It's a competitive game. And we're doing 10 to 15 new things every single night. We've played 40 games on this tour. You're talking 500 new things we've never done in front of a live crowd. That's a lot. And that's part of how we learn and how we get better.
That's great. And it's funny you brought up the Globetrotter comparison. I wasn't going to do that because I'm a better man than that. But since you went there, with basketball, it's easier to quote unquote stage it because all of a sudden guys can start missing shots or guys have uncontested runs to the hoop. But baseball's a little harder. So, and I guess my question is, I guess it really doesn't matter if the Bananas, it's not like you're trying to give this illusion that the Bananas are this amazing team that they're going to win every night, right? You want there to be like an element of winning and losing to these games as well.
We're not trying to be the best baseball team in the world. You have the Red Sox, the Yankees, the MLB teams. They have that. We're trying to be the most fun you've ever had at a baseball game and the greatest show in sports. And when you have that as our guiding light and then be fans first in everything we do, because the name of our company is Fans First Entertainment, it makes it very clear what we're trying to do. And so, yeah, they're going to lose, they're going to win, they're going to lose, they're going to win. But we are going to put on a show that no matter what happens, you're going to walk out and hopefully say, you wouldn't believe what the Bananas did tonight. That was the most fun I've ever had at a baseball game. And if we do that, then we feel like we're creating fans. And that's the ultimate goal. I don't want to be a $1 billion brand. I want to be a billion fan brand. I want to have 1 billion fans. That's what we're trying to create. And that's why we have no ticket fees, convenient fees, service fees. That's why we pay your taxes. That's why in Savannah, every ticket includes all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, popcorn, dessert for one ticket price. That's why we have no parking fees. That's why we have no shipping fees in our merchandise. That's why we have no sponsor logos all over our outfield wall. Everything we do is for our fans, and that's what we're trying to build.
Wow. Impressive. And obviously your father was a big influence in your baseball career, but when it comes to your creativity and entrepreneurship, I understand Walt Disney was a big influence in you. So talk to me about the magic, pardon the pun, of Walt Disney and how you're able to bring that into the world of Banana Ball.
I have a wristband on my wrist that says endlessly curious. And I'm so curious. And I had to be. I didn't love reading. I didn't love learning when I was in high school and college when I was forced to do it. But as soon as I started my job as a GM of the Gastonia Grizzlies at 23 years old and there was $268 in the bank account and I couldn't pay myself for 3 months, I became very curious on how to get better at what we do. And so Walt Disney was one that I started studying because, again, I experienced the magic. I was a big kahuna at Typhoon Lagoon when I was a kid. I was led into the park early. I was given free magic giveaways and all these things that happened that I'll never forget. So I studied Disney. And with Disney, the one thing I started to realize is that, he was criticized and told he was going to fail every step of the way and prevailed. And what he was told, his father literally said, you should never go into animation. You're not going to be successful. Then he said, all right, I'm going to do the first ever full-length animated film. Average films were 5 to 10 minutes. I'm going to do an hour and a half, Snow White. And everyone in the industry said it was Disney's folly. They are going to go bankrupt. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to create this theme park, not an amusement park like everyone else that has 10 different entrances. It's dirty, has the same carnival games. It's not clean. There's nothing fun about it. He goes, I'm going to create a specialized, unique theme park. And his wife and his brother told him he was going to fail. No matter how many times he continued to step up with a big vision, people told him he was going to fail. And so for me, I was like, this guy has a vision that's unflappable. I mean, it is, he said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And so as I learned his vision and then learned how much he cared about the guests and would go undercover and literally walk the park and realize where to put trash cans and go on a ride and say, this ride needs to be this long and move chairs around during press conferences, his meticulous attention to detail, I became obsessed with it. And then the one quote that no one talks about that Walt said that is really the ethos of how I run our business here. Money doesn't excite me. My ideas excite me.
Mm.
I have no idea what's in our team's bank account right now, but our president tells us we're doing pretty well. All right. But I pay complete attention to the ideas and the creation of asking the question, what if and what's next? And if I ask that every day, what if and what's next, our team will continue to create. And I hope, like Walt Disney, his greatest creation wasn't Mickey Mouse, it wasn't Snow White or a film, and it wasn't Disneyland. His greatest creation was the Walt Disney Company. And that's what I hope for the Savannah Bananas and Fans First Entertainment.
That's good stuff. You touched upon your college career, your illustrious college career at Wofford College, up the road from me here, and that's where you suffered an injury, and that sort of like derailed your baseball career. But there's a theme going on now, and I am one of these people that kind of talks about this a lot, is the importance of college and people going to college just because the college industrial complex of, well, I guess for me to get a job, I got to go to college. Even though I really don't want to do it, so we got to do it. But now you're seeing this shift where people are recognizing that you don't really need I mean, if someone's going to do like heart surgery on me, I'd like that person to go to college. If I need to be in a courtroom, I'd like that person to have a college degree. But when it comes to everyday folks, talk to me about your experiences at Wofford. And I know, like you mentioned, you weren't a big fan. You weren't a big fan of the student side of things. But what do you think? What were some of your takeaways from your time there that sort of helped you today? Or was there anything at all that you learned from your time at Wofford?
Yeah, in this book, Banana Ball, I go a lot more personal. And my first two books were very business oriented and kind of the developing my business mindset. But this one, Penguin and Don Yeager was adamant about going into my childhood and going into my college. And I talk about two things I don't ever really talk about. The first thing is I created my own major. I became the only theoretical leadership major ever at Wofford. I developed my own major because the business econ, which I thought I was I'll just do business. I'm here to play baseball, but I'll go in business. Yeah. It was like, take calculus and macroeconomics. I'm like, why am I taking calculus to learn business? When will I need to know calculus? So I was like, I fought against that. So I found a humanities major and I said, what's this? And they go, no one's ever done it. I go, it's a lot of work. You got to do dissertation. You got to do all this independent studies. And I go, I want that. And so I created my own major. And with that, I actually studied theater. And it was my first experience getting into theater. And I was a part of a group that literally wrote, reimagined, and produced a brand new, never before done children's theater production. And in front of 6 sold out crowds, I helped write it. I starred in it. I was in it. And I was out of my comfort zone more than anything in the world. But it was there as the only jock, quote unquote jock, the only athlete. I was with all theater kids. I learned the power of entertainment. And I thought that opportunity of combining an entertainment, a production, a show with a sporting event. And I learned that through my time at Wofford, and I became fascinated by it. And now looking back, every night here at the ballpark's a show, and it's that mix of baseball and theater.
Wow. And were you doing the theater while you were still playing ball, or were you already stopped playing ball by that point?
That's when I tore my shoulder. So it happened my last year. I tore my shoulder and went all in, started taking improv classes.
Wow.
I went full-fledged into the theater world. I was 225 pounds back then, 6'1", a big athlete doing theater. And they gave me the toughest roles. They'd make me be the opposite of who I was, not this big kind of, I have to be this passive person. So it challenged me in so many ways to always think about the audience and the perception of the audience when they're watching something, and how the movement, the steps, the blocking, the music, the sounds, all of that I put so much time and attention to now with the Bananas.
Wow. Great. That's awesome. And I love it because I'm going to ask you this question that I ask from time to time. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Gwyneth Paltrow movie Sliding Doors, where in the film, basically, her life diverges into two paths. One where she gets on the train and the other where she doesn't get on a train. And her life goes in different directions. Yeah. I'm going to ask you the Sliding Doors question. What if that arm never gave out? What if you were healthy? Where would you see yourself if you think you made it through Wofford, got drafted? Like, where do you think you would be right now? Because I can't imagine you being this ringleader of the Savannah Bananas if you grinded it out, playing minor leagues, made it up to the majors. Like, have you ever thought about that?
I don't like thinking about that, and I don't like thinking about it right now, to be honest with you. I'm built in the mindset of everything happens for a reason. And I've had a lot of adversity, challenges, growing up as an only child, my parents divorced, my mother having challenges, and, my father battling cancer. And, obviously as foster parents, my wife and I, we've gone through that whole journey and the challenges of being foster parents. but I believe everything leads you to where you are. And I never like to look back and say, what if it didn't happen? I like to focus on what if it could happen. And I'm not focused on like people, Major League Baseball lost 15 million fans over the last 15 years. Well, no, I'm more focused on, all right, well, what can we do to add 15 million fans, to create something? What could we make baseball? And so I know I could have gone a lot of paths. I probably would be a coach somewhere and hopefully doing great work, and hopefully, madly in love with my life, my family, and my kids. But I'm very fortunate and grateful where I am right now.
That's great. Let's talk about Major League Baseball for a second here, because you talked about the fans sort of, as it's been known as the American pastime, but it's nowhere near as close as the most popular sport in America. It's luckily if it's third, or fourth in this country right now. What do you think went wrong there? And I know you like to stick to the positives, but what do you think went wrong with Major League Baseball? What happened to this disconnect with the fans? And now all of a sudden you're seeing them scramble and change the way games are played. Now, for hundreds of years, there was no clock in baseball games, and now there's a pitch clock, and there's all this evolution of the game that's happening recently because they want to attract these fans. What went wrong with MLB?
I don't want to say anything went wrong. I think it's an evolution of the game, and I think Major League Baseball still has the best players in the world playing baseball, and they do have a very big audience. I mean, dramatically bigger than what we have. So it's not went wrong. I think the game evolved to become a lot more statistical based, a lot more looking at every single situation. Back in the day, you'd have pitchers, they throw a complete game, and it was grind, and pitchers played when they were hurt, and they battled through it. And you had 2.5 hour games, 2 hour games, 1 hour and 50-minute games. And then it became, hey, no, this stat tells us this data tells us this very data. And because there's such big dollars, 10, 11, 12 billion dollars in Major League Baseball, that the investment in the data and the information that became very relevant over the last 20 years changed the game to slow it down. And for the average fan, we don't even understand. How do you make it so simple that a fifth grader understands it? Well, when you start talking about launch angles and all these new data points, it's hard. So, what I think about is I watched that old HBO documentary, When It Was a Game, and they showed, literally in spring training, fans baking cookies for the players, and players going up into the crowd and eating cookies with the fans. And they showed those barriers broken down. And now, when the Bananas score our first run, they run through the entire crowd high-fiving the fans. They deliver roses to little girls in the crowd. When they shake hands of people that have served our country in the military, we break down those barriers every single inning, because I think that's what makes the game great, is when fans can truly connect with the players. It is very hard for us to connect with a Mike Trout or a Bryce Harper, not because of who they are, but they're so talented. They're such an amazing player that we can't do what they can do. So how do you break down the barrier and get to know who they are? What are those habits? What are those things they like to eat? What are the snacks? What do they do behind the scenes? What are their hobbies? Those things show them more real life. And then you can start connecting and root for them, not just because they're the most talented player you've ever seen, but because you like who they are and what they stand for. And so I think that changed in Major League Baseball as it became a little bit more barriers, more data. Everything's about getting better at the game, not necessarily getting better for the fans. And I think that changed the game a little bit. And now they're making great adjustments. The games are 30 minutes faster. I think they are getting better at social media. They're showing the fun. And I think Major League Baseball is going to be fine. It's just we take it to an extreme, obviously.
Good for you. And with many organizations like yourself that are sort of in the sports entertainment side of things, sort like a Globetrotters, even, a Cirque du Soleil, the way they scale up is by having multiple versions of their show. So you can go to one Globetrotter game. It could be a different team in one side of the world to the other. Cirque du Soleil has multiple productions going around. When it comes to, I'm going to get a little businessy here, Jesse. When it comes to scaling the Bananas, is there a future like that where you have multiple bananas circling the globe playing banana ball? Is that something that's you're currently working on, the future of the organization? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, scaling's not something I think constantly about. I think about growing fans, which I guess would be scaling, but the idea even scaling is not something. What I realize is with a wait list over 600,000, and that's going to be at 1 million. We're going 3,000 to 5,000 people a day on our wait list, so that'll be 1 million in a few months. There's a need and there's a desire to see the show. So we will expand out. We will play at Major League stadiums next year. We've already got numerous offers from Major League stadiums, which is crazy to play at, and including your Mets. They have reached out as well. So we will play there. We'll play. We've had Japan come here, Mexico, a lot of different countries come visit us to try to bring us to their countries. And there will be more teams that we will develop that will play as well. But it's not going to be more bananas teams. It'll be individual identity, different point of view, unique entertainment that adds to banana ball, which banana ball is the game that I believe is bigger than just the bananas. The game is great. We're playing every game under 2 hours, 9 full innings. You're having innings, MPI, which is our new stat, minutes per inning. We're having pitchers throw innings in under 2 minutes. Wow. It's fast paced. It's energetic. People are stealing bases. Our shortstop now has over 50 trick plays, literally catching balls between its legs. Our center fielders catching balls, doing backflips. It's an unbelievable game that we're still in the first inning. So we're gonna scale the game with new teams and new places to play all around the world.
Interesting. So in essence, banana ball is the league or the sport, and then you will develop other teams that will maybe even play the Savannah Bananas and have teams sprinkled all over the world. Like something like that could be in the near future.
There you go.
Nice. I like that. And part of your book and your mission, and even this conversation, is about living your dream. You've been very transparent about the fact that you are living your dream. But there are a lot of people out there, Jesse, right now that aren't, and they don't even know how to. Someone decides to read your book, see one of your talks, listen to this podcast. Some words of advice for people that maybe can't identify their dream or they're having trouble living their dream. What do you tell folks like that who want to follow in your footsteps, not in terms of reinventing baseball and entertaining millions, but when it comes to living their dream? What do you say to that person?
Well, take some pressure off yourself first. The idea of dreaming is very big. And the reality is, when it comes to dreams, I think you should pay attention to what gives you energy. Everyone says, follow your passion. Well, we don't know what our passion is. Follow your dreams. Well, we don't know what our dreams are. But you know what one thing we know? We know what gives us energy. 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, I was struggling. I would wake up, I'd go on social media, I'd look at the news, then I'd start doing sponsorship, ticket sales, operations, hiring, everything. By the end of the day, I was burnt out, exhausted. And then I started to look at what are the days that I come home that I even have more energy than when I started the days. And I realized I was doing things, coming up with ideas, promotions, creating, sharing, telling people what we're doing, growing, learning, reading. And I said, I'm going to create my energy list. So I wrote down what gives me energy, and I said, how do I fill every day with things that give me energy? And the things that don't give me energy, I either hire for, I delegate, or I eliminate. And so I challenge everyone, before you start following your passion, you follow your dreams, do an energy audit. Look at your days, look at your weeks, look at what gives you energy. And if you find something that gives you energy, do more of it. And you'd be surprised. You keep doing more of the things that give you energy, you're going to become outstanding at it. You're going to be great at it. And you're going to be able to make a living. And all of a sudden, you'll be like, wow, I'm actually following my dreams because it started with following my energy.
And what is it about what you do that, like, of all the things you do, because you do so much, but you delegate as well, what's the one thing that just gives you unabashed joy when you walk into that ballpark? Like, what is and I know there's probably a multitude of answers for this, Jesse, but what is it, the one thing that just gives you that rockets to the charts of your energy list? What is that one thing?
For me, it's on a game night that you can feel the energy happening, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and all of a sudden at 5:20, we get ready for our march. And this is our pep band, our male cheerleading team, our breakdancing coaches, our players on stilts, our entire cast. And this is from Disney. It's our rope drop, but it's our opening march. And we come through and we actually go through a line, playing music, singing, dancing, high-fiving thousands of fans until we get to the end, right in front of the opening gate of the stadium. And we do our Hey Baby dance. And I get on the mic and say, it's almost showtime. And everyone's dancing, not just me, not just ourselves, but thousands of fans. They're dancing, they're singing. Half of them got their phones up, videotaping it. And I'm like, we haven't even started the show yet. We're just getting started. Are you ready for showtime? And we open up the gates. This feeling that I think very few people in the world get to have, that thousands of people are here to watch you work, to watch you do what gives you joy because it brings them joy. And I get to experience that 80, 90 times a year. And I get to look at our players, guys that were not going to be playing professional baseball anymore, that didn't really weren't sure what they're going to do with their life, to see the joy in their faces saying, look at what I get to do. That's pretty special for me.
Sweet. And lastly, you couldn't have done this without your partner in life and in business. So I can't even imagine a lot of the people, male, female, that would put up with your journey. So talk to me about the importance of your wife and what she means to basically being the mother of Banana Ball. If you're the father, she's the mother of Banana Ball. Tell me about her a little bit.
Yeah, we need a lot more time, but just to be short, I mean, Emily, she makes sure everyone's eating healthy. She goes around with waters for people. I mean, she is like the prototypical amazing soccer mom for a staff now of 150, 200 people on the road to make sure everyone is taken care of. And that's her heart. And, to say that she now helped us start, our journey into foster care and to have 2 foster daughters, and now to be starting our own nonprofit called Bananas Foster. That is her. And now we're going to help, defeat the fact that there's 450,000 kids in the U.S. without a permanent home. And just like the Bananas, that no one wanted a ticket to come to our games. We only sold 2 tickets. We're on an air mattress. We're going to create a wait list sometime in this country to be foster families and go from 450,000 kids without a permanent home to have hundreds of thousands of people that want to help. And that's all of Emily's dream, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well said, and that's a great way to finish this. His name is Jesse Cole, the author of Banana Ball and the father of the Savannah Bananas. Jesse, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
And that'll do it for another episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. That way you'll receive new episodes as soon as they're available. And if you have a spare moment, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a review, which could help other exceptional entrepreneurs like you discover the show. You can always connect with me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Joe Pardavila. And please, don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.